they feel like Bronny James didn't deserve to be drafted, right? And I'm gonna give my point on this. I want you to give your point on this. I think that a lot of things are at play when you get drafted, and if your dad is LeBron James, that helps your resume because of his success, right? Just like if you was jumping out the gym or you was a great shooter, whatever your attributes is, that's just one of his attributes, right? I don't see nothing wrong with him getting drafted, for his potential, because of we seen what his dad did, right? And this happens in a lot of sports. This been happening. A lot of players have been drafted, have went to teams, college teams, whatever, because their dad or they had genes that they had great players in their family. So I would think that you're going to practice hard, you're going to train hard, your ability to possibly get better is higher than a player that probably don't have a dad in the NBA. You get what I'm saying? So
Yes.
my point is that we all have certain, pros and we got cons, and it don't matter. You got to take the pros and the cons that you got, and you still got to roll with it. We'll see how he does in the NBA, but there have been busts. There have been people who've been drafted number one overall, and they're nothing. They didn't even make it. Like, they're trash. You get me?
DeAndre Ayton. Sorry,
Right.
Dave.
So my point with this is that we got to see what this guy does in the league before we talk about is he worth being drafted, because it's been a lot of players in all sports that hasn't been worth drafting after they got drafted. You get me?
Yep. 100%.
But I can understand what people are saying on, like, he only averaged 3 points, 4 points. But give me your take, Max. Do you feel like, if you're a GM, right, do you feel like a team would have drafted him other than the Lakers?
No. I think he would have gone undrafted 100%. They would have been able to pick him up, save that draft pick, get somebody they actually needed versus somebody that one of the players wanted to have with them so he can continue on his legacy and be the Ken Griffey senior and junior of the NBA. That's fine. That's great. But at that point, you're putting yourself and your own ego and hubris ahead of the team, the organization, and that part I don't like. I don't like Rich Paul's involvement with the whole thing, telling people to stay away, don't draft Bronny, because I don't think anybody was going to draft Bronny to begin with. And with the influence that LeBron has over the Lakers organization between Pelinka and Jeannie Buss, which has done a terrible job, in my opinion, of running this organization, between losing Jerry West and not giving him his due respect and actually disrespecting the man by taking away his season tickets when you did. Magic Johnson, to get rid of him because he saw the writing on the wall when LeBron was going to come in. Getting rid of coaches as though they're the problem. I don't like the way the Lakers organization has dealt with situations since LeBron has been a part of that organization, just because he has too much control. His job is to play basketball, to score points, get rebounds, dish out assists, and play basketball. He's not a GM. He's not a coach. He can be a mentor, sure, but you got to know your role and you got to stay in it. At this point in time, I'm very disappointed in the Lakers for wasting that draft pick on LeBron.
All right, so let
It
me
was a
ask you a
waste of a
question.
draft pick.
Right. So Max, let me ask you a question. Let's say you were in the NBA, right? You made it to the NBA. You got a son, right? You got the ability, you got the power. This is your son, right? He's coming up, you can draft him. All right. You got the power. I know what you're saying. You're saying, like, no, he should just be a player. But let's just say you got that, you got that prestige. You're there, you can do this, right? Would you want to draft your son? Would you draft your son if they gave you the power to say, hey, listen, we give you total control. If you want to get your son, we'll draft your son if you want to play with him. They give you that total control. Do you draft your son?
My answer would be no, and only because it's not the LeBron James Lakers, and I have to do what's in the best interest of my team and my organization in that locker room in order to get wins, which are going to translate into championships. And I don't see Bronny James at number 55 being that key piece, that needed addition that is going to get us over the hump into the next round and with another championship. That being
Right.
said, there are plenty of players that they could have gotten instead of him. But
The
because of the
second
influence of
round,
his father,
yeah, but the second round really don't breed like majority. Like who do you know was a player that came in the league in the second round that meant that was a give me a second round player that you feel like really did some damage in the NBA.
Jokic,
Jokic was a second round pick.
I'm pretty sure.
Wow. Nah,
I'll double
man.
check.
Double check, fact check that. But I'm gonna go over what Trevor Jackson said. He said if I was a player in the league, I would treat Bronny like how they're doing Caitlin Clark. Ooh, that's a blow. That's a blow.
I, I'm,
That's a blow, Trev. Woo, that's a blow. So I think it's gonna be hard for Bronny. Now, is it true? Let's look up that. Was Jovic drafted in the second round? I don't think so. I think he was a first round player.
he was
He was, right?
dun, 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 second round, 41st pick overall,
Yep, you
and
right.
one-time champion, three-time MVP. I'm just saying.
You right.
I'm
You
saying.
right. Oh, he said
It's
Trevor Jackson said Scottie Pippen. Right? Okay.
Scotty. Yep,
Yeah. Yeah.
yep,
I
88.
mean,
And speaking of Scottie Pippen, LeBron James had Scottie Pippen's son on his team. They drafted Scottie Pippen's son. Scottie Pippen
right.
Jr. was a Laker. They had Max Christie, Doug Christie's son, on the Lakers. Also, well, I don't. Did Doug Christie win anything? I know he didn't win anything with the Queens, but I can't remember
The
if
Queens.
he. Yeah, it's just a Kings thing. After they left Kansas City, I don't. No love, no love.
Okay,
But
so
yeah, I
all right.
mean,
Right. So basically you saying with LeBron, right? They could have drafted a better player. Um, I don't see nothing wrong with them doing it, but I can understand where people would be coming from. They could have got him as an undrafted free agent, but for him being drafted, you know what I mean? If I was in position of LeBron, I'm drafting my son. Okay, I'm drafting him. I mean, if he want to be drafted, if he like, yo, I want to play with you, dad. If my son told me, look, man, I want to build my own, I want my own legacy, man. I get you, but I want to be on my, I want to do my thing, man. I'm talented enough. And I'll be like, look, son, I don't think you're gonna get drafted. I can better train with you. I can do a lot, I can be there with you. I can show you how these ropes is. I think you need to be up under my supervision. I'm not trying to son you all your life, but I'm just trying to make sure that you're getting the right guidance and I can show you how this thing works. So that's where I feel that it's best for Bronny to go with LeBron because he's gonna be able to just be able to be pushed more than anywhere else. His dad is gonna push him. He gonna work. He gonna have to work now. One thing about Bron is Bron's gonna work. He gonna practice and he gonna work. So I see it both ways. If he just wanted to build his own legacy, but I just don't feel like he's not a good enough player that they wouldn't he wouldn't get the notoriety in the NBA like that right now. He needs more work. You get me? So
absolutely no. It's the same dynamic as Ken Griffey and Ken Griffey Jr. Ken Griffey Jr. is a Hall of Famer. You know what I'm saying?
his
There,
dad
and,
was a
and
Hall
you
of
could
Famer too,
see,
though, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. But you could see in that characteristic of how, I mean, they're like the same person. It's crazy watching them together. But even at that young age, back in what was that, 89 when he came out as a
89.
rookie for the
Mhm,
for the Mariners.
mhm.
I mean, he was poised, he was professional, he was out there, he was playing, he was amazing. And prior to that, he was already amazing and had proven himself enough without even having to, you know, I don't want to say coattails of his dad, but it wasn't necessary because he already had that much talent. He got that from his dad. So if we kind of compare the two,
Braun got
Bronny
talent,
looks, yes, he
but
does
I
have
just
talent.
feel like his size. He's not in this day and
He's
age.
well undersized.
He's well in size, but
He's
he's athletic, you know. But
yes,
this is a tall man's game, you know. He's about 6'1", 6'2". So yeah, he could possibly play the point, but I feel like he has an overall game to where he could play defense. You know, he can shoot the ball. You know, he's not a shooter, but he can shoot. You know, he's got an all around game where he's not bad at anything, but he's not great at anything. You get what I'm saying?
right.
So it's
And
still room.
that's just
It's still
time and development.
right. It's still room for him to grow, in my opinion. He can still grow and get better. Trev Jackson said players are going to be playing extra defense on Bronny. This just made his time in the NBA twice as tough.
Yeah,
Definitely.
that's another thing too. You take, your dad takes you under his
Definitely.
wing, you can see the positives, but there's also a negative, just like there's a equal and opposite to everything else. There's no difference in this.
It's a
A lot of
microscope
people,
over. Yeah, it's a microscope over his stats. They're going to be looking at everything. It's going to be pressure. He's going to have to perform. Will he perform? I think he'll do good enough to be in the league. I don't think he's just going to be a trash player at all. But his shooting percentage, he got to be shooting at least 34, 35% from three, in my opinion.
yeah,
If you shoot under
it was
29%,
yeah, it was bad. And
yes,
that
you're not.
and it's a small sample size that we had with them last year at USC. The USC program had some complaints against it by LeBron and Bronny and others. So it might not have been the right fit for him. I get that. But I will say this one thing, and I think this is probably the most telling thing to the Bronny James being drafted argument. Does anybody honestly believe that if LeBron James wasn't his dad and on the Lakers, that Bronny would have got drafted?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think I think everybody knows that much already. You
I
see what
think
I'm
he
saying?
would have
To
got
where
into the NBA. He would have got
yes,
picked up.
100%,
Yeah, he
100%,
would have picked up. And sometimes it
but
really don't
not
matter.
drafted.
Yeah. If you get into the NBA and you make an impact, you make an impact. Whether you got drafted or you didn't get drafted. I don't know much players that were undrafted that was really good. I can't name you none, but I'm sure there are some, you know. I'm sure there
Yeah, I
are, you
mean,
know,
there's
you got to be some out there. But Trev Jackson says as a point guard, he's trash. You know, he can't start on half the teams in college right now. Whoo. Woo. Yeah, that's
Trev, let me ask you this. How do you feel about LeBron, if you don't mind me asking?
I mean, that's a good question, but however you feel about LeBron, you got to acknowledge that he played 20 years in the league. Unless you're going to say, you know, he cheated and he took performance enhancing drugs or something like that. You got to put him in as one of the greatest of all times, you know.
You may not like him, but it's
You
true
may not
as
like
much
him,
as
right?
I do
Because
for him.
I didn't like him once after he left Miami Heat. I was a big Miami Heat fan, and I didn't like him before he was in Miami. Once he was in Miami, I loved him. But once he left Miami, it was like I don't care for him anymore. But
No, he just abandoned me. Like, I
right,
said, "Why?" He just left.
So
Yeah.
uh, he
Yeah,
says
okay,
I live in
Trevor
basketball
likes him.
country. Trev said I live in basketball country in the Carolinas, and he is not starting point guard in the NBA. Period. Name one he would start over. Oh yeah, I can't. I can't name a point guard he would start over. But definitely Carolina is the basketball capital of the world. Um, I like LeBron. He is
Chapel
legend.
Hill, Raleigh,
Yeah,
much
yeah,
love, North Carolina. The baby.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Shout out to Dave and Raw Sports, man. He from Carolina. They from the Carolinas. Raw Sports. Dave put Derrick Jones Jr. You talking about the guy who played for Dallas Mavericks? He played for the Heat too. I think that's who he talking about.
Let me see.
I
Hi,
think
Dave.
that's, I think that's who he talking about, man. And I mean, he's nice. Yeah, that is who he talking about. He's talking about Derrick Jones Jr. He a straight player. I mean, he's not. He came in undrafted. He played for a lot of teams, but I don't consider him. I would say Duncan Robinson. He's probably one of the best. Well, he's the highest
Undrafted.
paid undrafted
Between
player.
him
He
and
plays
Max
for the Miami
Strus.
Heat. Yep, he plays for the Miami Heat, and he makes the most money of any undrafted player that's ever. So he may have to get the best, but I mean, there's probably some undrafted players that was better than him. But I got to give it to LeBron. We got to give LeBron his flowers. All right. Um, we got to give
It was
LeBron
hard
his
for me to
flowers.
say, but I respect the man for being able to play as long as he has been. Has it been all sunshine and rainbows and great? No, but it's been entertaining and it's kept the league afloat. I wish him the best in anything and everything that he does with his career going forward after his career is over. And the same thing that I wished for him, I wish for Bronny and for Bryce if he decides to go into the NBA and follow in his father's footsteps. But I wish both of those young men nothing but the best, and I hope that they can succeed and find success, whether it be in the NBA as a player or in the NBA at all, or just in life in general. You'll find your place, but it might not be the first one that you stop at. So,
Okay.
we'll
Okay. Now, do you feel like LeBron is better than Jordan?
no,
No. Okay. What if I
no,
would say this, right? LeBron can play every position on the court,
yeah.
right? You could put him anywhere, he's dominant. Could you say the same thing about Jordan?
I would say that if Jordan was put in a position to where he had to play the point forward hybrid role that LeBron has at times, or having to go in and fill in for anything, a 4 or a 5, would Jordan be able to do it because he's a competitor and he wants to be able to compete against the best? Yes. Would he be as effective as LeBron without having the athleticism? Probably not. But
Mm.
is he up to the task, up to the challenge? 100%.
Oh
Absolutely.
yeah, yeah. Jordan was he definitely up to the challenge. But my point is just saying I do believe that Jordan statistically he was a better player statistically championship wise. But if I'm talking about athleticism, if I'm talking about physique, if I'm talking about a, a created player, he may be the player that you can just be interchangeable. You know what I mean? You can put him anywhere. You can put him at the 5, you can put him at the 1. It's not too many players. It's probably never going to be a player. What, Magic Johnson, maybe you could say that for, but in that regard, I can say that he may be the best athlete, you know what I mean, of all times, but not the basketball player as far as skilled, in my opinion.
Yeah, skill wise, as far as having options and offensive weaponry in a big bag, as we like to call it, Jordan is Santa Claus. He's got bags hanging off him like bells. The the man was incredible. And the one thing that is important to really understand when it comes to debating basketball or even football, which people don't do as much as basketball. People love basketball the best, and I don't blame them because I do too. Is that
Right.
we need to be able to debate it in a way that is going to be less decisive than what we currently do. What I mean by that is instead of comparing Jordan to LeBron, why don't we go either by position? Okay. Point guard to point guard, shooting guard to
Right.
shooting guard, power forward, etc. Or we also need to consider the eras in which these guys play. Why is that important? I'll tell you, because the technology we have today, whether it be from training, whether it be from the equipment that they wear, the jerseys, the sneakers, the flights they have, the training, the nutritionist, everything, those things weren't always around at the beginning of the league's inception, and they've grown and developed over time, and that has also uh, helped with performance of the athletes and enhanced the game. So I don't like having the GOAT conversation. I think that everybody's
Right.
got their favorite, and I think that if we
Subjective.
actually have a yeah, yeah, but I think if you wanna
Subjective.
have an objective conversation, then you have to put it together, but you can't have a hybrid position and then try to compare them to a just a regular point guard, if that makes sense. You gotta be able to compare apples to apples in order to get a
Right.
more accurate
So follow.
barometer on what you're looking at.
Right. Right. I agree. I agree. Trav said LeBron flops. The Knicks and the Pistons created the Jordan rules. If he comes to the whole follow. Yeah, I think that Jordan played in a more rough. He played where it was rougher.
Yeah,
That's why I respect Jordan a lot more because he was tougher. That's what I feel like. He's tougher. He was in a more
100%.
you know, stronger era. Like I don't think LeBron. I think LeBron physically he could have played in the era. I think he could have still played in the era because he plays bully ball. Right now, LeBron bullies the NBA. He goes down the court and he just out muscles people sometimes and dunk. Is he could definitely play in that era. Like we don't. I don't want y'all to act like LeBron wouldn't be able to play in that era. Like he's definitely got that physicality that he could do it. But LeBron,
I
but
think he would probably do better in that era than this era, to be honest with you, because of his physicality, and he would have to adapt to the game, and he would you know what? Between Dr. J and Larry Bird choking each other out in games, Michael Jordan choking out other players during games, it happened all throughout the '80s. No fouls, no whistles, keep playing. So, I
yeah,
think
but
that if
LeBron's a nice
LeBron played
guy.
that
Like
same time
yeah, but I think in those era, man, it was badass time. Everybody was badasses. It wasn't LeBron's more of he's not he don't have that aggression to me. Jordan had that aggression. He'll choke you out on the court. Like he'll punch, he punched
literally,
Steve
yeah.
Kerr in the eye. These guys are
Yeah,
these
he
guys are
did.
physical. Yeah, they're badasses. LeBron to me is not a badass. He's a good guy, bro. He's not trying to really much, he ain't roughing up his players. He ain't getting into no little skirmishes. In my opinion, he's a good guy. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I just feel like, for him playing in that era, he would have to change his mentality. He would have to be a killer. He would have to be a badass. You know what I mean?
Choice.
And it's
He
just
wouldn't have
not
a
him.
choice, otherwise he wouldn't last.
Right, right. I mean, he
Yeah.
got the physicality too, but his mentality isn't like that killer instinct. You know what I mean?
A lot of guys right now that are looking at basketball and watching it in today's version that don't look back in some of the games from the '80s and the '90s really don't understand how physical this game was. I'm talking these people were on the court killing one another to win a basketball game. Blood, teeth missing. It was the greatest time to watch basketball ever. And if you
Right.
guys want to do it, get on the YouTube and find some of these old videos and see what these guys were able to do. It's incredible. And it'll make
Yeah.
you appreciate the game that you're watching now that much more.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Definitely. Yeah. Cause I try to watch Jerry West. My dad tells me about Elgin Baylor and all of these old guys. I haven't seen them, but he tell me how great they were. And when I was watching basketball with him, I'm like, Dad, bro, I don't think they can compete right now. He's like, oh man, you crazy, man. These guys were, they would dominate now. But when I look at their highlights, I can, say, yeah, there's some guys that would have been great in any era. It don't matter what era it is. But I'm with Trev, man. I love that era, man. I love that era of sports, man. I love the rough era. It was just something about it, man. It just made me want to watch it all the time. He said Steve
Yeah,
Kerr
and I'll
started.
still rewatch it. I love it. What
Yeah,
what Dave say? Steve Kerr started first.
Steve Kerr started it. Yeah. That
Mike
when
finished it though.
Michael Jordan punched him in the eye. Michael Jordan
True
was a bully,
story.
man. People got to understand. He bullied Kwame Brown. He was a bully. He stood on how he felt. And I liked that about Michael. Like, you know what I mean? Not that he just was a bully, but it's just that, Michael was somebody that you don't play with, you know? And I just like that kind of, when people have that aura about themselves. It's like, yeah, I'm
Oh
just
yeah.
one of them guys that you just don't, you don't play with.
And
Yeah,
everybody trying to test Mike. I mean, everybody who played with Mike has that Michael Jordan story. Reggie Miller's got his Michael Jordan story. I think
yeah,
Reggie Miller's who Michael Jordan choked out once, at least once.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
everybody. Charles Barkley got a Michael Jordan story. Karl Malone got more than one. Uh, Gary Payton, Sean Kemp, Charles Barkley. Like I said, you got all these guys that tell these awesome stories, and it's not just about Jordan. There's awesome Larry Bird stories, Magic Johnson stories, Isaiah Thomas stories, James
Yeah.
Worthy. There's so many great players. Jerry West, Elgin Baylor, Bob Cousy, Bob Pettit. We have so many greats we're missing. Bill Russell, Will Chamberlain, Bill Walton, rest in peace.
Right.
So many greats that have led the foundations, paved the way for these young men to be able to do what they love. I'm blessed that I was able to watch
Watch
some
it.
of it,
Yeah.
and I'm happy. Yeah, and I'm happy that I can still rewatch it, and now it's still here, and I love it.
Right. So
Love
listen,
it.
let's give a projection. Ross Sports. Let me read what Ross Sports said. Stats were inflated back in the 60s. Man, listen, if my dad hear that, he gonna say, man, ain't no way, man. He's gonna say, man, listen, those guys were just talented, but how how deep was the talent? That's what everybody questions. How deep was the talent? It could have been top heavy, but then bottom weak. You know what I mean? To
Bernard, yeah,
where
Bernard King there.
Bernard King, yeah. But I want to give a let's see. I want to give your opinion. What do you think, Bronny James, right? Do you think he starts? Do you think he comes off the bench? What's a projection of his stats to you? Do you think they'll resemble the stats that he had in college? Or do you think he gets better, he becomes a better player because he's around his dad and he makes an impact in his league? What you think?
I think that based on the situation that he's going into right now, though he does have his dad around him, obviously an all-time great, Anthony Davis, gonna be one of the greatest ever. You've got Austin Reeves still on the team. You got some young guys, but I think until you actually know his full potential and his full capabilities, that you should start it out as you would any other rookie and not treat him any differently. But that's me. I wouldn't give him any special treatment. I would make him work just as hard, if not harder, than anybody else because he's got to prove his worth. Why do we pick you at 55? What do you bring to the Lakers? I think it's going to be hard because the Lakers aren't exactly in the best spot coaching wise. I don't think JJ Redick was a wise decision at all. Matter of fact, I think it was a terrible decision. But I think as
Yeah.
long as you have a good system in place with good coaches and a good group of people around you that all want to win and all have that same goal, then you should be okay. But it's going to take time. Don't go out there and expect Bronny James to start throwing up 20 plus points a game right off the bat. And don't be upset when you see him get benched. And don't be upset when he goes to the G League if it happens. It's just a part of the process.
Right. Well, I'm gonna give what Trev Jackson said he will never start. So I think that I don't think he will start. I think he has to be like a 6 man type of player. But I seen his workout in the NBA in the draft combine. The guy killed it. That was the best I seen him play. And instead when he was in high school. But for that draft combine, how I seen him hit them threes, I was like, wow, if if he could be a gym rat, if he could be a gym rat, we don't know his capabilities. Like you can get better as a player. I don't know if
Right.
y'all remember Jermaine O'Neal.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
Jermaine
Indiana
O'Neal
Pacers.
he played 4 years in the league. He didn't play for 4 years. He sat the bench. He just worked on his game and he became a perennial all-star. So I can't say that, this guy's dad is LeBron. I can't say that if he turned into a gym rat, that he could be a starting point guard. I can't put that away from him. But Trev Jackson said on he said AD one of the greatest ever. He isn't even a top 3 big man now. I gotta agree with Trev on that, right? I think AD is overrated. Let me tell you why. This is why he's overrated. He didn't really do anything until he got with LeBron. And I could say that with LeBron, but LeBron at least went to the finals his first year. You know what I mean? So he, he's shown me that he was a great player before. But AD, I think he's overrated. I don't think he is one of the greats. I think he's a great player, but I don't think we can put him like top 50. Do you put him top 50 ever?
Not as a not right now, no, not he's not up until his career is completely over, and he still has a good amount of time, assuming he can stay healthy. I think that by the end of his career, one championship in the bag already, he's got plenty of time left as long as he can stay healthy and he doesn't decline. He's going to be very consistent. You're going to hear about him in the annals of NBA history, and he's going to go down as one of the greats. And I'm not saying he is the great now, but he is a great player without a doubt. And we saw
Yeah,
that in the playoffs. The only reason that he didn't look good in the playoffs was because, for whatever reason, they stopped giving him the ball. I don't understand that, but
he can't
I
stop
remember
Joker.
watching
He
those
can't stop the
playoffs.
Joker though. My thing is, yeah, I mean, to see how the Joker, Joel Embiid, took over the league, we never seen AD do something like that. Like he came in the league and he balled, but as far as winning games, we seen the talent, but we don't see the wins. We don't see the playoffs. We don't see, the things that matter, in my opinion. You know,
I think you're
I
right,
mean,
but if you look back to that 2020 season when they had won that championship, I doubt that they would have beat the Heat if AD was not on that team and they
oh
only
no way,
had Dwight as their big. In that
no
case,
way,
they
no
probably
way they
wouldn't have
did.
gotten past. Yeah, no way they would have even got past the Nuggets.
No,
So,
no,
I mean, I think that he was impactful enough and has remained relevant, but needs to improve in order to get that all-time great status. But I could see the potential, without a doubt, in his game. He's got a
yeah,
very solid game. It's just a matter of staying
I
healthy.
understand.
And then when you don't give the guy the ball and he's your number one scorer, that's you know,
Yeah,
I don't know how you stop feeding him the ball, but that was my opinion. I don't like to hire JJ Redick again. I don't think that was I did I wanted Sam Cassell. Sam Cassell is way more deserving of it and has
I like Sam Cassell.
what I
Sam Cassell.
yeah, I would have taken Sam
But
Cassell from the
Sam
Lakers
Cassell
organization.
is not friends with LeBron. See, we living in the LeBron is probably the player that gets what it's his team, man. Let's keep it honest.
Yeah.
He's a billionaire. He's probably the richest person in the organization besides the owner, you know? Like, let's think about it, right? You know what I mean? Like he runs the team, whatever team he be, and that's why he left the Heat because Pat Riley wasn't going for it. Pat Riley wasn't letting him run the team, and that's when you know, he had to leave because he see that I can go somewhere else and just tell him what to do, and I'd rather do that. So that's just my opinion on that. Should the
No,
coach not he valued as much? Oh, the COVID chip, right? Should not be valued as much. A lot of people say that, man. They say that it was a COVID, but I tell you what, if the Heat would have won that championship, I would have still felt like I would have celebrated on South Beach. I would have felt like we the champions. Hey, I was there watching it, so I can understand where everybody's saying, but I still would have appreciated that championship and put it on the banner just like the team would have. I would have, so it is what it is.
and and if we go back to that time, and as crazy as a time that was, and it wasn't that long ago, we were so desperate at that point in time to have something back that gave us that sense of what we were no longer able to do, go outside, social distancing, all this other rules and regulations that were implemented, that when they reopened the NBA and allowed them to go into the bubble, I think that gave America a chance to kind of just relax and have something to watch and not get just keep our mind off of everything for just a little bit, even if it's to watch basketball. I
Right.
think that if they didn't do it, it would have probably been worse because then there was nothing else to watch,
Right.
literally,
Right.
unless we wanted to
Right.
watch the tickers of people.
Right. So Trev Jackson was talking about Dan Hurley. He said, what was the name of that coach from UConn who didn't
Bobby
take?
Hurley?
Yeah, Bobby Hurley. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bobby Hurley. Okay. Um, he said that he didn't take the job to be with. And I think I was on Raw Sports Radio. We talked about this. I thought that the coach should have left UConn and went to the Lakers. But I respected his decision on not going, but I just felt like this was the highest point of time in his career to cash out on what he did. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
sometimes it's not about the money, but legacy too. You know what I mean? Sometimes you got to, different challenge. But I respect him not taking that LA job because he wouldn't have been the head coach. It's LeBron was the head coach, and that's probably why he turned it down. Because I'm not finna go to a team and I gotta listen to what a player's telling me to do. That ain't how
Right.
guys are gonna operate. You know what I mean? So you had to
100%.
get JJ ready. You had to get a friend of LeBron, or it wasn't working. Because if LeBron say fire this guy, you got to fire this guy, right?
He's got a lot he's got more pull, and I hate to say it, than Jordan, because Jordan, even as
Jordan ain't
great
got.
as he was, he couldn't keep the Bulls together. He couldn't talk Jerry Krause or Jerry Reinsdorf, Phil Jackson into keeping a dynasty together for a year, an extra 2 years maybe at most. Couldn't do it,
Right.
and that was Michael Jordan. But LeBron
Yeah.
James has been able to do something that no one's ever seen. So I give
Yeah.
him credit in that way. He's got a lot of leverage and a lot of influence in this league,
Definitely.
more than anybody else ever.
Definitely. Yep. I agree. I agree. Well, man, listen, this was a great subject, man. We're gonna have to get Trev and Raw Sports Radio all on one, man. I appreciate you guys for commenting on the channel, man. We made it very interesting. Y'all brought
Thank
up
you,
some
guys.
points. Yeah, this is one of the best shows, man. I think I've been a part of, man, in a while. So I mean, it's probably the best one I feel like as far as putting it together. But we definitely got to build on this, man. I can't wait to get with Max, you, Trev Jackson, man, and Raw Sports Radio, man, and put some more great content out there, man. We got to keep it going. Anything you want to close them out with, Max?
I would just like to say thank you for everybody for tuning in and listening to Rob and I. I'd like to thank Rob for having me on his show. I thank Trevor and I thank Raw Sports Radio for being a part of the chat and contributing. And I also like to apologize on behalf of myself for any misconduct that I might have done during my tenure at Raw Sports Radio. I never meant any harm, and I apologize for any look that I may have put on the channel in the negative light. Max Trubin apologizes.
Okay. Okay. Wow, you got him with that. I appreciate that. So, hey, guys, we're going to catch you on the next video. I'm going to chop this up, man, and probably send it to Raw Sports Radio. Send it to you if you want some, if y'all want to drop some of it. So, hey, man, we're going to catch y'all on the next video, man. I appreciate y'all guys, man. Peace, abundance of love, peace, and man, and blessings to you, right? I'll catch y'all in the next one, man. Stay blessed.
God bless everybody.
Make sure you get your free water test at Envirely.com. Here we got Mr. Pollock. He had a cornfield. He took advantage of a free water test from us, and this is what we found in this water. We found sulfur, we found hardness, and we solved these problems with an easy fix of 2 tanks. So get your free water test today. Stay blessed. Click the link below.